برنامه امروز بسیار برنامه مخصوص است و تاپیک برنامه An Ancient Afghan Treasure is Recovered. تاپیک برنامه Professor Hiebert, welcome to my show. Welcome to Payam Afghan Television.
Thank you. Salam Arian Jan.
Salam.
It's a pleasure to be here.
And thank you very much for accepting my invitation.
It is my pleasure. It's my pleasure indeed.
I'm honored to have this interview with you. This is a special show.
It's a very great honor to be able to be here in Los Angeles and to see the wonderful, wonderful Afghan-American community here in California.
Wonderful, great. اعلام میکنم که در ماه نوامبر $15,000 Chairman's Award from the National Geographic Society's Committee on Research and Exploration اخذ نمودن و همچنان Professor Hiebert is Archaeology Fellow at the National Geographic Society which received an NEH Chairman's Emergency Grant of $30,000 to document the Bactrian gold.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thank you. We are so happy for the Afghan people that we could document these treasures that were saved by Afghan people during the period of the Civil War. They were hidden. They were kept safe by Afghan people. And we're so happy to actually announce that most of the treasures from the National Museum are safe. It's a great story that we want to tell the whole world. And we are very pleased that in 2003 and 2004, the Minister of Culture of Afghanistan and the Minister of Finance had the vision, had the idea to take some of these collections that were saved and show the world. It was a great idea. And so it became my quest to see if I could fulfill their wish. So we have put together a small selection of the objects that were in the National Museum, just a very few small number of them, and they are on view here in the U.S.
And you just came from Northern California, and would you like to tell us about the exhibit?
Yes, we have an exhibit at the Asian Art Museum in San Francisco, which highlights the true culture of ancient Afghanistan. Of course, Afghanistan is a very, very rich country. It has natural resources. It has a wonderful culture. It has the most wonderful people with great music and food. But the archaeological treasures are truly amazing. More than 1,500 archaeological sites are known in Afghanistan. So it became a very difficult challenge. How do you tell the world about this wonderful ancient culture in a very small amount of space? So we picked archaeological artifacts from 4 archaeological sites in Afghanistan, 4 very, very special sites to tell the story of the original Afghan art.
Wonderful, great. هموطنای عزیز و گرامی، بک‌گراند امروز که شما می‌بینین، بک‌گراند امروز که از امی دیزاین موزیم کابل است که این دیزاین که شما می‌بینین امیال بروی صفحه تلویزیون انشالله موزیم آینده ملی افغانستان به شهر کابل می باشه. واقعا یک دیزاین بسیار قشنگ است. بسیار خوشحال هستم که چیزای مثبت امشب بخیر ما و شما میشنویم در این برنامه. افغانستان 30 سال است که به جنگ و ایناست، همیشه ما خبرهای منفی میشنویم. امشب برنامه فرق داره، بسیار یک فضای خوب و مثبت و پازیتیو می داشته باشه واقعا. و ما میخوایم که براتون بگویم که The next question to you, which is related to the previous question, is that what did you do there?
When I went to go on my excavations, I was interested to find out who the people were who were living in this area of Turkmenistan, Afghanistan. This is what we call the area of ancient Bactria. Bactria is the ancient name for this area. At that time, there was no border, no political border. Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, Afghanistan. It was all this area where trade caravans came by. And we worked out in the desert, and we found evidence of people who lived in this area, who lived in cities, in areas where the cities are gone now. And we excavated these, and we dug down, and mostly we find traces of their buildings. Their buildings, yeah, ancient buildings. And you can actually see how the people lived. The buildings, the rooms they lived in, you can find traces of what food they ate. You can find traces of what materials they used, their pottery. We find traces of their pottery. So I was very, very interested in this. And of course, lots of trade items.
And this is about the Silk Road.
Yes, about
the Silk Road. Okay, my next question is, when did your interest in the Black Sea escalate?
I worked not only in Turkmenistan, but also in the Black Sea region. I call both of these parts of the Silk Road. So beginning in 1996, we began to look at the Black Sea for trade, for ships that had the same goods that we find in Afghanistan, Turkmenistan, and believe me, even goods from China. And we were hoping that we could find a sunken shipwreck with these goods on it. It would tell us a lot about trade.
Wow. What did you find?
Well, we went to the Black Sea specifically because it's a very unusual ocean. It's a very interesting sea. It is so deep.
What makes it unusual?
It is so deep that at the bottom of the Black Sea there's no oxygen. So if any ship or anything sinks to the bottom of the Black Sea, it will be perfectly preserved, absolutely just like it was the day that it sunk. And in fact, in the year 2000, we found a perfectly intact shipwreck in the Black Sea. It was a wonderful discovery.
Great. Did you videotape that?
Yes, we did. We did a film of that. I can provide you with all these films.
In
it's
the future,
a very interesting research. It tells us a lot about the trade routes through this area. By the way, it's at the time that ship sank, at exactly the same time that the giant Buddhas of Bamiyan were built. So you can imagine, trade was going all across Asia. Because of the research that we did both on land and underwater, I received an award from National Geographic Society for this research because it's absolutely new to do archaeological research both on land and underwater.
Oh, that's great. Wow. What an adventure.
Yes.
You're so lucky.
Hey, lucky, thank you.
Okay. How many times have you been to Afghanistan?
So beginning in 2003, I started going to Afghanistan. I wasn't able to go to Afghanistan before that. So from 1980s through 1990s to 2003, I only worked around Afghanistan. I worked a little bit in Iran. I visited just briefly to Mashhad. I worked in Turkmenistan. I worked in Uzbekistan. I visited Kazakhstan and Tajikistan, but never Afghanistan. But in 2003, I was invited by Minister of Culture and Minister of Finance to come to Afghanistan to help them open these boxes. From that time, I spent many, many months in Kabul. So I don't know how many
So you've been to only Kabul?
Only in Kabul, because every time I go to Kabul, I go to work in the museum, the National Museum in Dar al-Aman. And here's the story. At first, the museum director asked us to open 6 boxes from the National Museum. We opened those 6 boxes, and then I thought when we were done opening those boxes, I could go visit the rest of Afghanistan. And he said, no, you're not done yet. There are more boxes.
Wow.
So we kept opening more boxes. I spent months and months. I was working in the Presidential Palace and in the National Museum in Dar al-Aman, and I always I want to visit Balkh. I want to visit Mazar Sharif. I want to visit Bamiyan. No, you can't visit those places because you always have to open more boxes.
Oh,
so I've only
really
visited Kabul. Yes.
Okay. Next question is, why are you so much interested in the history of Afghanistan?
My interest in the history of Afghanistan goes back to when I first studied the Silk Road. I was very, very interested in what is actually at the center of the Silk Road. We know about Rome. We know about China. What about all of the places in between? So when I was a student, when I was writing my Ph.D. dissertation, I realized that the real answer to how the Silk Road works could be found in the deserts, in the cities of Turkmenistan and Afghanistan. This was 1988, 89, 1990. I worked on this question. Of course, I couldn't go to Afghanistan at that time. So I only read about these reports. I didn't go to Afghanistan, but I worked in Turkmenistan, and I wrote my first book on